Before I went, I suppose I had some apprehension. I thought I had some idea of what was going on between Israel and Palestine. But when I got there, I think I was shocked. We've just come from Jerusalem, Old City, and what we've been shown here is a road that's the main road north and south through Israel and Palestine. And if you see in the background there, on the left-hand side of the wall, is a road that's going to be used for the Palestinians. The one on the right-hand side, which you can see is twice the width, is for the Israelis, mostly Israeli settlers.
Settler movement is totally unrestricted throughout the occupied territories to such a degree that they set up homes, above homes of Palestinians in the Old City in Jerusalem. They set up outposts where they will, as they will, when they will.
This building that the settlers have seized is completely illegal in anyone's definition of law, and yet we have a military post here
on the top,
which is right in front of us, which is actually about giving protection to the settlers by restricting the rights of Palestinians to move in this area.
That is so true.
We witnessed in East Jerusalem settlements on the roofs of Palestinian homes.
A group of people have moved in and eventually they resorted to force. They expelled or ethnically cleansed the indigenous population from the land and property. There's been no restitution of their rights, no right of return for those people, and the programme sadly continues.
There's checkpoints, and what I watched there was just simply horrendous. I watched elderly people, young children being taken from cars and buses and taxis and having to pass through full height turnstiles, and it didn't seem to me to be any kind of security check. It seemed to be just simply a process in humiliation.
And that is evident right now, is that people who are trying to actually access their houses beyond this checkpoint are usually stopped, especially if they were like men with the age of about 20, 18, 19. Usually this is the most favorite target for the Israeli occupation forces.
To see the so-called settlers and the violence that was there underneath the surface at all times from the settlers.
Of course, the issue is a more difficult one to resolve, but to me it was actually a very important experience as to why it was so crucial that we don't just turn away.
I was overwhelmed by the generosity and the kindness of the people, the Palestinian people we met. They really were such generous people that wanted to share whatever they have, which in most occasions was very little, but they were prepared to make sure that we had what they had. And it just struck me that these people were peaceful people who wanted to have access to their land and to their families.
I went to a village called Jayus, which is near to Qalqilia in the occupied West Bank, and the population now were almost entirely farmers. 80%, some of the 3,200 population were farmers. And yet most of their land has been taken away from them. It's been annexed by Israel for settlement building, and it's also been cut off from them by building of what they call the separation barrier.
There's a huge wall in between those two places, separating neighbour from neighbour, family members from family members, and farmers from their fields.
Standing next to that wall and realising, just how divisive and horrendous that was for people there, economically, socially, and just, it was awful.
This is the originally high wall, like in Qalqilia, Tulkarim, Jenin, Ramallah. All the walls is like this kind.
We visited a couple of fire stations and spoke with a number of firefighters and found that the situation that they're facing affects them in ways that we can't even imagine. We visited firefighters who had been shot whilst trying to deliver water in a water bowser to the local hospital, and the compassion that those people displayed to us was incredible.
Having experienced the stories from the Palestinian firefighters, and not just from the firefighters who were crying out for training, who were basically receiving their training from the internet. I'm talking about basic training and further. That's all the training quite a lot of these firefighters had.
The occupation is stopping them from being able to train properly, access decent resources, access decent fire engines, and protect the people that live in their communities from the risks of fire and other kind of disasters that we face here in the UK just the same.
From our point of view in the Fire Brigades Union, we're determined to try and find a way of giving practical assistance to some of our brothers and sisters in Palestine.
We came away there thinking, we'll have to see if there's something we can do. What disturbed me was to see a fairly high standard of kit, i.e. positive pressure ventilation fan I saw on one fire engine there, and yet without the appropriate training, that type of kit can only actually be quite damaging, if not life-threatening, if it's not used properly. We know that in the UK, and it's important that our colleagues, our comrades in the fire service in Palestine get the same type of training.
As firefighters and trade unionists in the UK, we can do so much to help our brothers and sisters elsewhere around the world, and I think that's why it's important that we're involved internationally.
Really, you can do almost anything to try and support the Palestinians' right to self-determination and justice. All of the things that we're used to doing in a trade union.
Our borders don't stop at the edge of this island, they should keep going, and I hope that our members will understand that what we're trying to do, and we need their support, because you know, sending a small delegation to Palestine or anywhere else in the world won't change anything. It's simply if we can bring some information back that moves our members to be involved and to sit up and take notice and make some demands of those that make decisions on our behalf, then we can hopefully change things for the Palestinian people.